everyone, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. This week, we're talking about Words of Radiance, chapters 56 through 58, wherein, hey, guess what? Adolin fights more than two guys. Who would have thought? And surprisingly, his brother jumps in, and then Kaladin jumps in, and they defeat said guys, which was pretty exciting. And then we get the Sadeas trying to flee, and then is challenged, and then Kaladin ruins everything. And now Kaladin's going to jail. It was a kind of a quick stream of events here this week. So that's what we're talking about. With me, as always, is
Jack,
Jamie,
and Data.
The band's back together. Hold on to something. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
So yeah, we had an interesting, really it's like one big event for the most part in these three chapters, right? So an interesting event, some predictions coming true, although I don't think anyone predicted how it would end. So what did you guys think of these three chapters this time?
Yeah, huge, eventful stuff. Lot of crazy shit went down. Fight scene was one of the better. I'd say it's probably the best fight scene we've had in Stormlight so far. Some of the ones in Mistborn might still be cooler overall, but it's definitely up there. Like, really well done. I genuinely was like, I don't know what's going to happen at any given moment. So super lot of fun there. And then the end of the fight, yes, like Kaladin fucking ruined everything. Like, he ruined everything for himself. He ruined everything for Dalinar and Adolin. Really, the only person for whom he did not ruin things was Sadeas.
True, yeah. Sadeas is sitting pretty now.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely not Kaladin's finest moments. I'll admit, as soon as I read that end section with Kaladin, Dalinar, and Elhokar, I remembered, we've got the email this week titled In Defense of Moash. I'm like, oh no. Now I know what he's talking about, and I'm not looking forward to it. But I'll talk about that when we get to those parts of the chapters. But, yeah. Like, really exciting chapters, hell of a way to end the part. Good stuff.
Yeah, we got some In Defense of Moash, and I can see how the end of that would trigger this memory for you. Yeah, that's Kaladin is it's weird because you feel bad for him, and at the same time you're kind of like, well, dude, what were you on about? Like,
yeah,
come on, man.
100%. I get exactly why he did what he did. And I understand, and I sympathize. And it's very easy to criticize as the person who is not in a gladiatorial pit and who has not lived their life as a slave, and who doesn't live in a society where where like eye color is all that determines class. It's very easy for me to condemn, but yeah, like I sympathize. But oh man, from the safe objective viewpoint that I have, not his finest moment.
Yeah. Speaking of Kaladin screwing up, I thought this would be a good time to point out for people. There was something that came up in the section we read last time, and I didn't point it out specifically when we got there, but it's kind of relevant, and so I wanted to bring it to the forefront here. But we had, if you remember, Adolin and Shallan are discussing the plan. Shallan is bringing him this idea, and Kaladin's kind of like, wait, that would really work? Like, that, why would that work? And they explained to him, like, this is like the way this stuff kind of goes. Yeah. And what Adolin says is the right of challenge is an ancient tradition. Some say the heralds instituted it. A light-eyed warrior who has proven himself before the Almighty and the King, demanding justice from one who wronged him. So almost immediately after that, Kaladin starts to think, this could be the solution I've been looking for. And I'm just like, Kaladin, you ignored a very important word in there when it said a light-eyed warrior can do this.
Yeah.
And so he kind of glossed over that bit, and it led to some bad things. Or Kaladin.
Yeah. It's like, I get where he's coming from. I get, 100% empathize with the fact that he wants to, break out of this cycle, and he wants his vengeance. But, he's still in the society where, Dark-Eyed don't have the rights, and that's wrong, but that is the system at this point. And as much as he's rising like in the ranks for a Dark Eyes, like he's still trying to jump too far too soon. Of course, there's going to be resistance and pushback on that basis alone. It's not right, but that is how the system works.
Yeah. Come and see the violence inherent in the system. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh well.
Yeah. Look, the whole battle was pretty engaging the whole way through. I love the changing viewpoints. I love that we've got most of our characters all in the one place, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, as soon as he started being like, this is my chance, and Elhakar's giving Adolin, obviously granting him the boon, I was like, no, Kaladin, don't do it. Oh, you did it. He didn't actually talk to you, man. you weren't also being given this opportunity. I can see how he got there. There's a lot going on in the moment, and it was quite a big battle, especially for those who were not prepared to go into battle. Yeah, so like, I kind of feel for him, but at the same time, I was like, man, you forgot who you are, you forgot where you sit. Like, you're on some levels, you're given the authority and the position of what would normally be a Light Eyes position, but you're still not a Light Eyes. And the fact that he had actually won a blade previously, it's like, you didn't take it, you didn't have that opportunity. Like, just because you have won one, no one knows that. No one believes you, apparently, that there's so many other witnesses or people who are fully aware of where Amaram got his blade from and not telling anyone about it.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe Amaram actually did just win a new blade. Maybe this has only happened 4 months ago. Well, there's got to be some record of it, but surely people knew before that he had a shard blade. So, yeah, I don't know. Because I wasn't here last week, I'm going to go into a couple of things, but it's not anything crazy or predictions or anything. But I really like where Shallan and Adolin's relationship's going. I actually really enjoy their dynamic together. I think that's a lot of fun. I'm kind of glad we're out of the Tin shadow now, that Shallan can just be Vale, and they've sort of figured that out. But that whole situation with the Ghost Bloods is just terrifying. And then the fact that they've burnt the carriage and everything, it's like, what did they intend to do with Vale? Were they trying to kill Vale? Were they trying to send a message? Would they have kidnapped Vale? I don't know. That's pretty serious. So fortunately, they don't know what she looks like, but there are certainly parts, like she said, of her abilities that she can't share now as Shallan, because people are going to figure that out, and you don't know who's in the Ghost Bloods and where they are. So that's pretty crazy. I really enjoyed Wit's return briefly. That was pretty cool. I'm glad to see him back, and the whole moment of they all recognize him from somewhere. You. That was quite entertaining to go through as well. I'm very interested in, with the battle this week, what did Syl see happening to Renarin when she left Kaladin? And I don't really have thoughts on that yet, but something happened there that Syl was like, what's this over here? Which is definitely of interest. She wouldn't have left Kaladin if it wasn't something important, I don't think, in that moment. What else did I write down? Oh, and the restoring the Night's Radiant as well, which I think is in the chapters that we went through last week rather than this week.
Yeah. That's
cool. Why Amaram? What are you doing, Dalinar? I have questions for Dalinar. Whose side is Amaram on? Is he now on Dalinar's side? Is he still with Thaddeus? Like, I don't know. I'm very confused, because I feel like if he's still kind of playing both sides, like, unless Thaddeus is all over it, which is possible. Yeah, I don't really know how that unfolded. It just seemed a bit weird, but yeah, a good end to part 3. I quite enjoyed it. Was that bit of action I think we're all looking for at the end of each part, a bit of drama. Certainly filled with drama. Sure. So yeah, be good to see where we go next.
I have to say, I agree with you on the whole, like, everyone being like, you, when they see Wit, and he's like, me. Like, it just tickles me. I love that section for some reason. So I'm there with you on that.
It was written really well and played out really well in my head. Some comedic genius. Yeah.
But I think you've touched on an important point here of, like, we've gotten a little bit of information about what Amaram seems to be after from Shallan, like, breaking into his house now, right? Like, He's trying to get on the Shattered Plains. He wants to get there before the armies. The thing said he's looking for the center of something or other, but we still don't know. Like, what is he doing? Why is he doing? He seems like he wants to bring back the Voidbringers is another thing that she found out there. So why and whose side does that put you on? Because I don't think Sadeas or Dalinar is interested in that we know of. So yeah, it's his whole deal is still such a mystery at this point.
Yeah, Amaram's on Amaram's team.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, and it's funny because when he first in the previous book he took Kaladin's Shardblade, and he wasn't like that deep a character that we knew at that point. It was like, oh well, everybody wants a Shardblade. You're not shocked that a guy in power would take advantage of that power to get a Shardblade from a guy under him. And as we learn more, it's just like he becomes a deeper and more. I don't know about interesting, but it just there's more going on there than on the surface for sure. And so we want to know more.
Definitely. Yep.
And so do the Ghostbloods apparently. So we have that in common with them, I guess. The thing about Amaram getting his Shardblade 4 months ago and all these witnesses, the way that you mentioned it made me think, like, did he like set up like a whole show for people and like publicly win his Shardblade so that people would be like, oh my gosh, like look how amazing it was, and then there would be lots of witnesses? Or did he just pay a bunch of people to lie for him?
Yeah, and I was trying to go back through and say he's got all this story about he only got his Shardblade 4 months ago, but we know that what happened with the Shardblade was obviously a lot longer ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so surely people are going, well, we all know he's got a Shardblade. Like, it wouldn't have been a secret, right? Because yes, he didn't want anyone to know that Kaladin won the blade and he stole it effectively. But that was so long ago. Like, would he really have had a Shardblade? If you go to all that trouble of, I'm going to get rid of the guy who has the Shardblade or won the Shardblade, wouldn't you just say, I won the Shardblade?
Right. Yeah, like, why keep it secret for months?
Back then? Yeah. So I'm wondering if something else has happened. You know, maybe he does have Halaran's blade, and that would be kind of an interesting thing. If he's got Halaran's blade now, maybe Halaran's been alive this whole time until just recently. You know, you've got Shallan talking about she's made her peace with the fact he wasn't coming home, but maybe he was out there doing something in this whole time. So to have a whole, but it just doesn't seem right to have made up a story about how you won your Shardblade after you've already made up a story about how you won your Shardblade.
You had a very convenient story because lots of people in the army saw the Shardbearer attacking him or at least like riding through killing people. So it's like you have a very convenient moment to claim that you got it. Why not claim that you got it then?
Yeah, and so you're saying that whole time that Kaladin was a bridgeman and in his slavery and all that sort of stuff, he just kept the Shardblade secret?
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense. So, yeah, I know something fishy's going on there. Turns out he's got a nice stash of Shardblades that he's supposedly won. And I mean, everyone said he was really, like, he wanted to be in Amaram's army, right? Like, he was honorable and he was a great warrior, and like people wanted you, like you wanted to be in his army. So why would you then hide a bunch of shard? Like, it just doesn't add up to me.
Agreed. Something shady, but at the same time, everything about Amaram is kind of shady. So
yeah, true.
I don't know.
Yeah, great chapters. Super fun to watch this battle kind of unfold. I was surprised that Kaladin joined the fray. I wasn't sure that was the way that was going to go. Didn't know that was a thing that could happen, that they could add more guys on later, right? Like, because we haven't been handed the rule book on how these duels work at this point, and we aren't sure kind of like how it can happen. So when they're like, well, I could join them, you're like, oh, you can? I didn't know that was a thing. Okay, cool. Whatever. Which, honestly, in hindsight, it's like, okay, I know we don't know everything about the world, but that is kind of like it's not a Deus Ex Machina, but it's kind of like, oh no, how is he going to get out of this situation? Oh, by a means we didn't know could happen. Yeah. So I that was kind of iffy as far as like storytelling goes. I'm like, all right, but I mean, it was still fun because I wanted to see Kaladin fight. It's always fun to see him use the Stormlight, and it seems like he's getting better and better with using it. So that's fun to kind of watch unfold. I'm with Jamie. Very interested to know what was going on with Syl, why she would leave in the middle, and then like how the screaming thing happened. Like where did the screaming come from? Was that pattern, I guess? Is that what he ended up doing, was screaming on that guy and freaking him out? Or maybe unbeknownst to us, Pattern was like whispering to the guy and he's like, what is that? Or something. Because we did see Shallan tell Pattern to go interfere, but since we weren't in since he was away from Shallan and we weren't in her perspective either, it was kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, well, what did he do? I'm guessing he's the one who caused the screaming thing to happen, but because we didn't see it from Shallan's perspective, I'm just making a guess. I don't know for sure. So it was fun to kind of see like each angle of that from their different perspectives. The Dalinar, I was almost surprised by like how useless he seemed and felt in this. But I mean, I get it. He's in this weird predicament. But yeah, I don't know. I think, of course, this is from Kaladin's perspective. So who else saw it? And maybe Kaladin didn't see what he thought he saw. But as far as Amaram like pretending to get his shard blade at a different time, like from Kaladin's perspective, it said when he called out Amaram that Amaram looked terrified. And if Amaram hadn't done what he did, if he had really gotten his shard blade at a different time, why would he be terrified? At most, he'd be puzzled. He'd be like, what the heck is that guy talking about? So like he definitely did it. As far as pretending to get it later, I feel like he probably he probably had to make sure that all the people that saw the battle unfold were silenced or killed, right? And so then, because other people would know, like, Amber didn't strike down that guy, that other guy did. And instead of like being like, well, he bequeathed it to me because I'm his master, because that seems really unlikely, which is basically what Kaladin did. He's like, you take it, I don't want it, right? Instead of even doing that to give the thought that that was a thing that happened, if you just stage getting a shard blade later, which all you have to do is give the shard blade to a guy who's loyal enough to die for you and be like, hey man, you're going to take this shard blade, you're going to attack me in the middle of a battle, and then I'm going to defeat you and take the blade from you. And you probably don't even need to kill the guy. You'd probably be like,
it's hard to come by somebody willing to die for you, but you could take it somehow.
Yeah, you could just be like, okay, man, we're gonna make a good show of it. I'm gonna best you in combat, and then I'm gonna be like, surrender your shard blade, and I'll let you live, or whatever. And like, that's all you gotta do, right? So like, it could be done, right? And then there'd be no question of whatever happened to that other guy and the other blade or whatever. Like, there'd be no question. It would have been. It was Amaram's blade the entire time. And so I could definitely see him staging something like that to completely separate it from the events of that one battle, right? Because if you separate it from those events completely, then nobody could question it. Nobody could say like, well, don't I remember in that fight that this happened? Like there'd be no question of what happened. But yes, I'm with everybody else too, though. Like, what is his deal? What is he planning? What is his game? Like, I don't understand it. Whose side is he on? Is he on his own side? Is he working with Taravangian? Like, what is this dude's deal? Don't know. And then, I also agree with Dak. It's like, they weren't asking you, Kaladin, what you wanted. Like, they were asking Adolin what he wanted. And so I am concerned now. He's going to prison. He's like, I'm never trusting the Light Eyes again. That could not be good for the future of our hero Kaladin. So, I mean, being stabbed in the back's not fun. I get it. But also, like, you kind of want our heroes to stick together. So, I'm sure there's a way out of this and back to kind of like a good place for these people. But I just don't know what that path is, right? Like, I can't even really predict what that path would be unless somehow Amaram is unmasked and everybody's like, nope, Kaladin was right. Yay, Kaladin. I mean, one path I could potentially see is like, which Kaladin's not likely to do, is for Kaladin to reveal his powers, which really he probably should have just done during the battle. Like, he should have just been more clear about what he did in the fight, I think that probably would have boded better for him. But
he
it
starts
didn't.
flying around out there, and
And they'll be like,
out.
"Oh my gosh, he's truly a knight radiant."
He just lands in front of Amram and just goes, "This is what a knight radiant does, asshole," and then flies away.
That's true. Yeah, or even he could have used, some Knight Radiant power to just stab him up real good, and then it'd be over and done with, And then even if he got in trouble, he'd be like, "I'm out of here, bitches," and he'd fly away.
Yeah, let's see you arrest me now.
Yeah, who's in whose dungeon now? But no, that wouldn't work either, because I think if he does kill Amaram in revenge, that's not something about his bond with Syl is going to be messed up or broken. I feel like the honor bond that he has with her is not going to work through that type of action, which I think is what Syl's been getting at. It's that's going to twist you. Don't do that. That's not you. Don't, you can't do that. She's like Harvey Dent before he turns into Two-Face. He's like, you can't give in. So, Dark Knight reference for you.
Syl's going to live long enough to see herself become the villain.
Hopefully not. Whoa, man. Could you imagine? I just offhandedly predicted that Syl becomes a villain and then it happens? That'd be tragic. She's the best. Horrible.
We like Syl.
Yeah, she's great. But yeah, I'm excited to get in these interludes next week, and I'm just we're at the end of a part, but who knows what's going to happen? I feel like we're more in the dark than ever. This, in the words of Hermes, that just raises further questions.
You made an interesting point about the delay. You're like, Adeline. Amaram could have spent some of the intervening time killing off more people who could have, said what really happened. That would
100%.
That's kind of dark, but yeah.
You have to root those people out, because it's it was a big battle. Lots of people were there.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people saw not Amaram. Lots of people saw Amaram get knocked down and was crushed basically by his horse, not able to get up. A lot of people saw some other guy throw a knife into the eye of a guy and then kill him kill the shard bearer. It wasn't just Kaladin's men that knew what happened. So if you don't silence those guys before you claim that you got the blade, and then if you stage it so that there can be no question from anybody else, no, I won this blade. You saw me win the blade. Weren't you there? I was there. I saw you. Yep, I won this blade. That's how you get around any kind of questioning, is you make it so apparent and clear to everyone in a separate event that you got that blade. So I really feel like that must be what happened, and why there was a time delay is because he had to have some time to make sure that nobody could come back later. And that I feel like that supports that fear in his eyes much more. He's like, oh no, that one guy who knows what happened, who I let live and became a slave, that's the guy right there. He's the only one that knows where I got this thing. So definitely makes sense when you think about it that way, at least in my head.
Also, it lets us know that Amaram has been completely ignoring Dalinar's captain of the guard until now, because
as he should. He's a Light Eyes, and that guy's a Dark Eyes, and Amaram's a dick.
Oh, that's got to be, even with everything that happens, I feel like that moment's got to be cathartic. He can remember the look on Amaram's face, the look of horror when this comes out.
Yeah, he's just smiling to himself I got him. When he saw me, he was like, oh no.
But then you were talking about there's got to be a way to walk this relationship back to a good place with Kaladin and people, right? But Kaladin just experienced the king being like, I want him executed. And it's going to be hard to get over that, I feel like. It would be for me, at least.
Well, with Elhokar, sure. But Dalinar, besides the Amaram stuff, which obviously is the most hurtful to Kaladin, but Dalinar has always been fair to Kaladin, except for the Amaram stuff. But at the same time, what is Dalinar supposed to do? Amaram's a super respected guy that he's known a lot longer than Kaladin. He's had a relationship with him way before he met Kaladin. Amaram saying one thing, Kaladin saying something that's so completely different from what everybody expects to know about him, that it's you can understand why Dalinar's that can't be. You can understand it. Kaladin has a hard time understanding it because he knows the truth.
Right.
And he's like, I know what happened. I was there. He killed them in front of me, and he made me a slave. That's why I'm a slave. That's why I became a Bridgeman. Like, I'm not this is the point where somebody would say something like that to me, and I'd be like, I must be taking crazy pills. I know what happened. I was there. So, like, how can you say it didn't happen? I was there. I saw every part of it. You know, like if somebody said something didn't happen to you like that was one of the most traumatic experiences in your entire life, you'd probably be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, and not just that, but apparently there are 17 reputable witnesses backing up Amaram's side. Like, I feel like Dalinar has been as fair to Kaladin as he possibly can in this. And he's like, I talked to a bunch of people, and like everyone agree. Like, there's almost 20 people agreeing with Amaram, that eyewitnesses, and you don't have any other proof. It's just what you say on the other side, Kaladin. What do you want me to do?
Yeah. It's a tough place to be in for sure.
Yeah. Okay, all right, let's get into these chapters, y'all. So, chapter 56 was White Spine Uncaged, which Adolin is the white spine, metaphorically, as it turns out.
Yeah, I kind of got that. I was a little like, I mean, I guess it's kind of I feel like it's a forced metaphor there.
I think it's just because, like, in the last chapter, we saw the white spine caged, so it's more timely when you read it right after, right? The epigraph here is about 23 cohorts with contributions of the king of Makabakam. For though the bond between man and Spren was at times inexplicable, the ability for bonded Spren to manifest in our world rather than their own grew stronger through the course of the oaths given. So you take more oaths, the Spren can manifest themselves more strongly on this side, the physical realm. So that's interesting to know. And we start with, as you recall, we ended the last chapter with Amaram being announced as the leader of the new Knights Radiant. And now Kaladin has brought this information back, and Sigil's like, well, I mean, obviously he can't, like, surge bind, right? And it's interesting to me that Kaladin is the one who goes, well, I mean, hold on. Maybe he can? Like, Syl has basically all but promised me that there's more out there, like, discovering powers like I am. It's interesting to me that Kaladin is willing to consider that possibility of Amaram, this guy that he hates so much. And they talk about it, and they kind of conclude, he probably not, but I guess you never know for sure. And then we're arriving at the dueling arena, and he's setting his men to guard the family, guard entrances to the arena, even guard Shallan, because that's Adolin's betrothed now, just in case someone tries something. Which, if you wanted to, like, try to make Adolin forfeit the match or something, maybe, you know, subtly threatening Shallan would work. And I also like his note. He's like, look, this is probably going to be a really exciting duel. People need to make sure they're watching for threats, not watching the duel, okay? That's our job. And Sigil's like, hey, I mean, if the Knights Radiant are being refounded, why don't you, like, show off your powers? Then you'll be one of them. And Kaladin thinks, join under Amaram. Not likely. Which I don't blame him for that.
No, that 100% I get.
Mm. And then we get a quick talk with Moash, where he's like, hey, Moash, I'm going to put you on patrol duty way out there because I don't want you here when we move against Graves and his people. And Moash is like, nah, I'm not leaving. And he's like, no, this is an order. You don't get to disobey an order, Moash. And Moash is like, oh, it's almost time for the match. Bye. We'll talk about this later.
So this, in light of what happens later in these chapters, this really struck a chord with me because at the end, Dalinar, he's dragging Kaladin over hot coals. It's like, do you not know how to follow orders anymore? I'm like, again, this is exactly what Kaladin said to Moash, and Kaladin's getting shitty that Moash ain't doing it. So, like, you know, look in a mirror, Kaladin.
Interesting point, yeah. I mean, technically Kaladin wasn't ordered to not ask for a boon, but no, yeah, you know, it's fair.
I mean, yeah, but like it's been a point like Adolin and Dalinar have said several times. It's like you need to learn to follow orders and the chain of command, mate. Like you're trying to exist like in this system, and there's a way you go about doing that. We are giving you leniency, but we can only take it so far.
Which is fair, 100%, right? I mean,
yeah. And so it's just interesting that like Kaladin keeps flaunting that, and then he comes down on Moash for like giving it back to him. I'm like, okay, I'm not liking where this is going because, you know, at the end of the chapters, Kaladin learns nothing. He's like, I'm never trusting Light Eyes again. And like, cool. So what does this mean for your relationship with Moash when he doesn't obey you? Where's that
Mhm.
gonna go? So I'm not, yeah, like it's not looking good. And maybe
That's
it's another reason. Like at the end of the chapter, I'm less on Kaladin's side. I'm just like, you're reminding me of Moash, and I can't forgive that.
That's an interesting parallel. I hadn't considered that. Yeah. If you find yourself acting like Moash, you must be doing something wrong, man.
Yep.
We cut to
In a world of Alethi, don't be a Moash.
we cut to
I
Adolin,
like that.
who is preparing for his duel, and he's talking to his sword. That's one of his things that he has to do is have a conversation with his sword. And Renarin comes in, and Adolin's like, at least he's wearing his like official Colin uniform instead of the stupid Bridge 4 uniform. And Adolin, even before his big duel, when he's thinking about that, he's trying to convince Navani to like talk to Shallan. He's living up to the promise that he made Shallan, which I think speaks well of him. And they talk about the plan. Father thinks it can work, and Elokar really likes it. And Elokar's mother's like, Elokar can be impulsive. That, just FYI.
Water, wet.
And she tells him like, look, they're gonna try to like cripple you or something. Like the terms have been set, so it goes until he gives up or he's incapacitated, and instead of to a certain number of broken plate segments. And she's like, there's a reason for that. They're gonna try to hurt you. And Aelin's like, so it's like any other battle, better even because they probably won't try to kill me. I'll work better as an object lesson if I'm alive. And then they go through the checklist. You talk to your sword. You ate some chicken. Mother's chain's in your pocket. And the chain is not there. And he freaks out. There's no time to go all the way back to camp and get it. This is when things start to go wrong. Is the good luck charm is missing.
And it started to go wrong when he made super vague dueling terms.
Okay, fair. And so he goes into the arena, and the doors across open, and 4 guys in shard plate come out. And that's when we jump to Dalinar's perspective. Where it's like, what, 4? Is that Adolin supposed to choose who he wants to fight, or what's going on here? He asks Sadius, and Sadius is like, oh, what are you asking me? I have nothing to do with this. I'm just an observer. And even Elokar's just like, don't be tiresome, Sadius. Just, what's going on?
Sadius, just shut the fuck up and tell him.
Why do you gotta be so difficult all the time?
And Dalinar's like, the duel was a paired disadvantage duel, 2 against 1, as per dueling conventions. And Sadius brings up exactly what Joe and then Dak noticed last time, was that, no, the terms were actually super vague. He just said, I'll fight you and whomever you bring along. And Sadius is like, there's several scribes who recorded his exact words, if you want to find out for sure.
Yeah, we've got him in text ourselves, being readers of said book.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. And so Dalinar's like, shit, we're just going to have to give up then. I mean, someone tell Adolin to pull out. And the king's like, I mean, are you sure? You forfeit all of your shards, 6 shards. Is that really what you want to do? And Kaladin is sitting here listening to this. And he's like, God, just give up without a fight? It's probably the right thing to do, but I kind of doubt that I could do it. And then Adolin, as if agreeing with Kaladin, raises his hand that, okay, let's fight. And then we jump to his head where he's like, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. He can see the problem now.
At least he copped to it. It's like, oh, I fucked this up. He doesn't blame anyone else. He doesn't blame them for cheating. He's like, oh, fucking hell, I'm stupid.
It's good to know that he's not even really confused. Like, as soon as he sees 4, he's like, oh, right, I said whomever. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I have become Era.
Even Shallan, when we get to her, is blaming herself for it. So nobody's trying to cast blame here except for Dalinar, I guess. And so we've got Relis, who obviously has to be here because he's the one who was challenged, or who did the challenging. I don't know how that goes, actually. I guess he was challenged. And we've got somebody who's borrowing the king's plate and carrying a big hammer. That's got to be Ellet, back for revenge. Then we've got Abrobadar, a full shard bearer from Aladar's camp. And Jakimov, Adolin's friend.
Dickhead.
Yep. And he's like, oh, crap. He recruited like 2 of the... because remember, Relis is the champion in the dueling standings. He is at the top. And the 2 guys that he recruited, Jakimov and Abrobadar, are apparently 2 of the best duelists around. So we've got a stacked deck here. And Adolin starts backing up. He's like, he is like, oh, crap, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then he hears the Hell's voice among the crowd that's like, one at a time, you're not cornered. He's like, what the fuck is he talking about? I'm obviously cornered. And Zahel says, they're scared of you. Don't you see it in them? Show them why. And then Adelin's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to show them. Okay. This white spine was not yet caged.
Yep. If a song was to kick in during this fight, it would be like, can't be tamed. Can't be tamed. Sweet Miley Cyrus kicking in.
Looks up
But
and
you'd need a song.
Hoyd is up there playing on his lute.
Yeah. He's
Played as
I know
Miley
this is,
Cyrus. Okay.
I was about to say, I know this is a different song, but I imagine Hoyd rolling in on a wrecking ball, and he's just like, yeah.
He was looking for like a good entrance to make. I remember that. So you just got me thinking about Miley Cyrus songs now. Now you'd need a song that like starts out good, and then as the thing turns, it like the song turns and it's like bad. And then that way, when Kaladin jumps in, there's like a new, even more like powerful song that cuts in.
Who the fuck is that? It's the Dark-Eyed Soldier.
I think there's actually like an album of somebody did like Stormlight music or something. Hold on, let me see.
Oh, sick.
Like their own put together soundtrack, or they wrote music for it?
It was I'm gonna have to look it up. I remember there was like a Kickstarter or something for it, and I didn't back it, so I don't remember that much about it. But it looks like, okay, the album is called Kaladin, and the group is called The Black Piper. And the description is, Kaladin is an original book soundtrack inspired by Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, kind of neat. I may have to actually go and listen to that now that I'm thinking about it. I don't think I ever have. Okay. So Adolin starts fighting back. He throws his shoulder into Relis to put him off balance, actually throws him all the way to the ground, and that gets the champion out of the way for a second so he can start trying to take out some of these other guys. Ellet, I think, is the obvious target. He's the only one who doesn't even have a shard blade, has a hammer, and the shard blade can chop that hammer up, which he actually does. I don't remember if he does it right away, but at some point he like cuts the hammer, at least the haft, in half. Ooh. And so Adolin starts out, he's getting some hits in. He's getting hit at the same time, though. But before long, 4 is too much, is essentially what it is. Like, he does pretty well for a while, and then he kind of is distracted for too long with one guy, and Jakimov, the fourth guy, manages to get a good hit in and knock him down, and then they're kind of like surrounding him and just beating on him. Mm-hmm. And he tries to say, I yield, but it's not loud enough over the sound of the battle.
I don't think that was it. I think that's what he thought, but then later when we find out what's going on with the judge, I think she's just ignoring him.
Yeah.
Which ends up working out well for him at the end, because, I mean, if she had acquiesced, then they would have lost a lot of shards.
Yep.
Yeah, it was their need to humiliate him that actually wound up.
Yeah. If they had just been, not major dicks, they probably would have walked away with all those shards.
Because, I think, let's see, how many shards did they end up with? They end up with, like, 3 guys have swords, but one of them is the King's Blade being borrowed. So 2 swords, and then 3 suits of armor, because one of them is the King's suit of armor that Ellet is wearing. So
yeah, so 3 armors and 2 swords. That's a lot of shards, bro.
That is a lot of shards.
A lot of shards.
Apparently, the family has 6 currently. That means they added 5. They almost doubled the amount of shards they have. That's pretty badass.
Yeah,
for them. So we cut to the stands, and Dalinar's like, wait, the rules allow for Adolin to have help as long as his side is still disadvantaged. So as long as he has at least 1 less than the number of people against him, he can have more people. Elhokar, let me have your shard blade. I'm going in. And Elhokar's like, no. You don't have any plate. And if you take the time to put on some plate, you're going to be too late. So if you go down there, you won't save Adolin. You'll just lose my blade too, and I'm not going to have that. He has 2, to be fair. So, like,
yeah, but he doesn't want to lose one.
Yeah.
He's the king.
Well, and
he's got to have more than
before long.
Else.
Plus, he's got a very good point. It's like you go down there. You're only going to lose. You're not going to win. Don't throw it away. It's not even so much you're going to lose it. It's like you actually just that it's not going to work.
I get what Elhokar's saying, but at the same time, like, this is Dalinar. I feel like he doesn't need the plate. Now, if this was Seth he was fighting, that's a different story. but like he could win. I feel like he could do it without the plate.
Possibly, but it still would be 2-on-4, which is not good
Yeah.
odds.
No, you're right.
Not great odds. I agree with Joe. I think that Dalinar would have a chance. Now, in another paragraph, Dalinar's like, well, here, fine. I'll pay the fee and borrow your blade, so then you don't risk it. I'm going to go fight. And Elhokar's like, no. Because Sadeas is like, hey, you can go down there, man. I checked. You can totally go and get... The guy I knew would be all down there already, fighting with a rock if he had nothing else to fight with. But I guess you're not that guy anymore.
Yeah.
And
Just those little
Elhokar's...
jabs.
Elhokar's like, listen to him and think. He wants you down there. That is the plan. If you step foot in there, all 4 of those guys are going to turn and come at you, and you don't even have armor to protect yourself. You will be dead in a second.
It's really scary when Elhokar is the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, Elhokar is a coward. Like Dalinar could, like it would be dangerous, of course, but Dalinar could do it.
Granted.
I think if they okay, so right now Adolin's on the ground, they're beating on him. If Dalinar jumps in and all 4 turn and immediately attack him, it would take Adolin a second to get back into things, and by then it might be too late. I think if Adolin and Dalinar were starting kind of fresh back to back, I think they would have a good chance. But I think Elhokar is probably right. If he went down there right this second, it would not go well.
Yeah. It's like, I agree. I think Dalinar would have a chance, but that's still a hell of a risk. And it's a case of, like, this is the same reason Adolin took Dalinar's place when he went to go meet Eshonai. If Adolin dies, yeah, it sucks, but they're, like, they can still pull their plans together. If Dalinar dies, then, like, everything they've done falls through. Dalinar is the one they're rallying around, not Adolin.
Dalinar is the one pushing it. Yeah, you're right. There's no other way. But I can't imagine watching your son down there and knowing that they're probably going to try to do worse than beat him and not be able to do anything about it.
Absolutely horrific, yeah.
And then not only that, but the Dalinar perspective ends with somebody else steps into the fight. No shard plate either, just a blade. And it's Renarin. And Dalinar just thinks, oh no.
And watch both my sons die today. Good eye.
Yeah. It's honorable, but not good, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been kind of, honestly, Renarin's MO. All the way back when we first met him, he tries to get involved in the Chasm Fiend fight when he has no armor, no weapons, no anything really. He just rides, it's like, can I help? And his dad's like, get out of here, dude. What are you doing? And this is kind of the same thing. He sees his brother in trouble, and he's like, I have to do whatever I can do, which is 100% honorable and not all that smart.
Mm-hmm.
And so one guy peels off from beating on Adolin to go and after Renarin. And when Adolin's trying to make a signal of his surrender, Relis is like, oh, hey, hold on, man. We wouldn't want to end this prematurely, would we? And they let him see that Renarin is over there, and Abrobadar, I hate that name, is...
Just call him Abby.
Abby is over there, and he's keeping Renarin busy. He clearly doesn't even consider him a threat. And Adolin's like, Renarin, what are you doing? Go back. And Relis is like, hold on. Abby over there, he's real fond of young Renarin. Doesn't want to hurt him, so he'll just keep him busy. As long as you keep up fighting. If you tried to surrender like a coward, well, I mean, things might just go bad for your brother. Which, oh god, now I want to kill this guy.
Yeah. If you surrender like a coward against the guy who brought 3 mates to beat you up single-handed, like, hang on a second.
And then he looks up at the judge, the lady who we met earlier, who was there for the challenge, actually. And he thinks she could call this on her own if she felt it had gone too far. But she's got a calm expression as she just sits there and watches. And he thinks they got to her with a bribe, maybe.
It's like her finger bones are basically all dust, and yet she still managed to flip me the bird.
And then Dalinar goes to the judge. He's like, it's time to end this. Let the other side win, okay? And then she says nothing. And he's like, fine, I'll end it then. And she goes, I am High Prince here, Dalinar. In this arena, my word is the only law, granted me by authority of the king. So she's like, the terms of the duel haven't been met, and I'm not going to end it until they are. Have you no respect for the law? He's just getting slapped down at every turn.
She puts on a Judge Dredd helmet. It's like, Dalinar's not the law. I am the law.
I am the law. I am the law. Okay, sorry.
I was about to do that. I am the law. Dalinar, you're greedy and lazy.
I've watched him in Tulsa King. It's actually not a bad show.
Oh, really?
I haven't watched season 2 just came out not long ago. I haven't watched much of that yet, but season 1 was pretty interesting.
Oh man, Dallin, you gotta do something about these possums, man.
Oh God.
They're everywhere. They're greedy and lazy.
So wow. Okay. That's all right. Yeah, you gotta if you do another Possum Hunter script, you gotta slip Sylvester Stallone in there for some reason.
Somebody who sounds like Sly.
Oh gosh. Okay. But eventually Dalinar just turns around to the crowd and he's like, "You guys can just watch my sons fighting alone out there? There are shard bearers here. Will one of you not go and help them?" He looks around, the king's over here looking at his feet. Amaram won't meet his eyes. "What has happened to us? Where's our honor?" And then a voice beside him whispers, "Honor is dead, but I'll see what I can do. If this goes poorly, take care of my men."
So, refresh my memory here. When, at the end of the last book, when Dalinar was listening to Honor's voicemail, did Honor mention their name?
I don't think
that
so.
They were dead? Damn. Okay.
They mentioned that they were dead for sure. They're like,
didn't
"Odium
mention
has
that
killed
name.
me," but I don't think they mentioned their name. Now, maybe I think Syl has talked to Kaladin about this since then, but I don't know that Dalinar knows.
I know Syl has. I couldn't remember if Dalinar knew or not because I'm just like, is that going to trigger a memory in him? He's going to be like, wait, how the fuck do you know about that?
Yeah, how would Kaladin know about that? Yeah, interesting. But yeah, I don't think he does.
Damn. Okay, there goes that prediction.
The chapter ends with Kaladin. It was Kaladin who said this, by the way, in case that was unclear. He has his spear and he jumps over the wall and into the arena floor. So now Adolin's team has 3 on it, which is the max that he can have. So there's no more help is coming.
And Dalinar's like, God damn it, I was trying to send a shard bearer.
I mean, better than nothing, probably.
Yeah.
To Kill the Wind is chapter 57. And the epigraph here is, Malshin was stymied, for though he was inferior to none in the arts of war, he was not suitable for the light weavers. He wished for his oaths to be elementary and straightforward, and yet their spren were liberal as to our comprehension in definitions pertaining to this matter. The process included speaking truths as an approach to a threshold of self-awareness that Malshin could never attain. So, okay.
He didn't know how to lie or tell truths about himself.
Yeah, I get he wanted just regular old oaths, and apparently the Lightweaver spren are a little bit funky, and you have to tell truths.
2 truths and a lie.
yeah, that's it.
That's play a game.
And so we cut to Shallan, who is watching this, and she is blaming herself. 4 guys, I should have seen that loophole. If I'm his wife, it's my job to watch out for stuff like this, for technicalities, and I've already failed him. And Sabariel's just lounging here like, fool of a man, too arrogant to see that he's beaten. And Shallan's like, no, there's something else. Like, she can tell all the way from up here, watching how things are going, there's something else going on. And then she looks over and sees Amaram, the supposed Knight Radiant, and thinks, bastard. Like, she doesn't like him, and he killed her brother. So she goes, Pattern, go and distract the guy fighting Renarin. She didn't want to mess up, if Adolin has a plan, she doesn't want to interfere. Renarin, she's going to try to help. And then she thinks, don't get yourself killed on me, Adolin Colin. And someone else dropped to the sands. And so here comes Kaladin. He's thinking again, just like when I came to Amaram's rescue, and he thinks he says this had better end differently than it did that time. And Syl's flying right there. She's like, it will, trust me. And a guy sees Kaladin coming and does not even give a shit. Like, just turns right back to fighting Adolin. And Kaladin makes him regret that.
He's like, no, it's not halftime. We don't need refreshments right now.
That's probably right, yeah.
And Kaladin's like, hey, bro, there's a reason I protect them.
Ooh, there you go. That should have said something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or he should have said, I'm a leaf on the wind. I'm a leaf on the wind. I'm a leaf on the wind.
No, that didn't go well for
well,
the guy.
This doesn't particularly go well for him.
He jams the spear point into that tiny little gap in the guy's armor. Just goes, mosquito bite.
So yeah, the guy Relis has a crack in his vambrace, his arm, the lower arm guard, and Kaladin gets in there and jams his spear in there, and the guy's like, "Oh, ow!" And he turns back like, "What the hell? Who even does that?" And Kaladin manages to get back to back with Adolin, and Adolin says, "What are you doing here, bridge boy?" And Kaladin says, "Playing one of the 10 fools." And Adolin's like, "Yeah, welcome to the party." So he says, "I can't get through their armor. You're gonna have to crack it for me." And Adolin's like, "No, Jill, keep one of them distracted. If you do that, I can handle the other 2." And Kaladin's like, you know what? Actually, that's probably the best plan. Okay, let's do that thing.
It's like when they finally set aside they're talking shit to each other. They're actually a really good team.
Yeah. And Kaladin is, I think there's something about being in the middle of a battle that like pushes all the bullshit out of Kaladin, because usually he would have like this thing where he's jockeying with Adolin for supremacy or whatever. But here he comes up with a plan. Adolin's like, here's a better plan. And Kaladin's like, no, you're right. That is a better plan. Let's do that. Like he goes with the flow way easier here.
Yeah.
In the moment where it counts, they can actually do that, which is good.
Yes, which saves their lives probably. So Kaladin tries to peel off Relis, the dueling champion. He's going to go ahead and go up against. Not that he knows that, I don't think, but anyway. But it turns out that that training he's had for about fighting guys with a sword, it's paid off, because he can recognize what's going on, like what stance the guy's using, how he's going to be fighting, and he can stare down a shard blade with only mild panic. So it's all working out. You know, like he slaps the guy in the head with the butt of his spear, which does nothing because the guy's wearing shard plate. He's like, I really brought a bad weapon to this fight.
I really brought
he just tries
a
to
knife to a sword fight here, didn't I?
He's actually coined a completely new Alethi phrase now. It's like, never bring a spear to a shard fight.
I feel like that's probably an existing phrase. Like, we've seen what happens to regular dudes when they go up against a shard bearer.
Yeah.
And so Kaladin is just trying to keep this guy's attention, but if he draws him away too far, the guy turns around and goes back towards Adolin, and he has to like get in there again and poke at him. So it's a tricky balancing act to keep going here. And so what he does is after Relis turns around to go back at Adolin one time, he drop kicks him, but he does it by lashing himself in that direction a bunch of times. And you remember, like, multiple lashes increases the amount of force pulling you in that direction. So he kicks him in the back with like a ridiculous amount of force because of all the lashings, enough to break both of his legs and feet, but also to crack the armor that this dude is wearing and knock him down, which that's a hell of a thing.
And I can't wait for that story. Like, it's like later on, Adolin's having a drink. Relic comes up and is like, who the fuck was that guy who kicked me hard enough to crack my plate?
Can I hire that guy?
What are his feet made out of? Iron?
It's like, from now on, you will be known as Kaladin Shard Boot.
Yeah. Shard boot kicker.
Most of Kaladin's Stormlight gets used healing his legs and feet that just broke. But when Relis gets up, he's just like, it says he looks at Kaladin with an attitude of awe. Like, what the hell did that guy just do? Meanwhile, Adolin comes around and hits Ellet and just hammers his shard blade into the guy's chest hard enough to make the breastplate explode. And apparently it's real hard to fight. Like, the armor is heavy, and without the breastplate like supporting the arms and the upper body or whatever, it's hard to keep going with and keep moving. And so one of the guys is basically incapacitated, and Adolin can turn and focus on the other guy. And it says the fourth guy, the guy who's fighting Renarin, quote, fighting, was waving his sword at the ground for some reason. And he looks up and sees how bad things are going for his allies. And he's like, oh, okay, never mind, Renarin, I'll go help. And then that's where Syl goes, wait, what is that? And she zips away to look for whatever is over there.
So yeah, I didn't question it at all. I'm just like, well, that's got to be Patton doing something.
Yeah, that's what I assume here as well. Is we talked about at the beginning, like, what is she going to look for? In my mind, she catches maybe a glimpse of Pattern, and it's like, wait, what's over there?
Yeah,
she's like, I know that thing, kind of.
Oh my god, I finally found one.
That's Bob. I mean, Pattern.
That's what we really want. Syl and Pattern, best friends, just like hanging out. She like flies around.
How will they get along together?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, but she flies around as a beam of light, and then he follows her and like makes scary voices. People are like, what's going on?
Syl and Pattern being best friends.
Together forever, the fun never ends. Solving mysteries, one spooky voice at a time. Oh boy.
It's like Kaladin just knocks on her door, and it's like, okay, we need to go take the Spren for walkies.
That's cute, actually. Yes, let's go. We've heard her refer to cryptics one time before, and she didn't seem fond of them. So
No. oh, maybe this is going to be like, oh man, you got to stay away from that Shallan. She's got a cryptic. And Kaladin's like, what? I don't need further reason to dislike her. I already did that.
True. Ellet, the guy with the cracked, with the destroyed breastplate, tries to like get up and wobble back into the fight, and Kaladin like runs over there, and he's got his spear that has been broken while he's fighting Relis, and he just like smashes the broken spear, not the sharp part, into dude's chest so hard that it makes a crunch, and the guy falls over, and Ellet's like, yield, and Kaladin goes louder. But he raises his hand and does the sign, and the judge is like, okay, Bright Lord Ellet yields to the combat. She said, sounding reluctant. Like, I guess. So we got 3 left. 2 back on Adolin, though. And then the third guy, the guy in orange, shows up to join them, and it's not good. Renarin, on the other hand, is just sitting in the sand, head bowed, shard blade stuck in the ground. And Kyle's like, did he lose? I don't understand what he's doing. But I got to go help Adolin, so whatever. He tells Ellet, remove your helmet, as Ellet's trying to leave. And he uses his like spear to like threaten the guy, like, give me your helmet. And then he hears people shouting, and he's like, I don't know, because he also has not been given the book to read on the rules of dueling. He's like, I don't know what the rules are. If I hit this guy, I might forfeit the duel, maybe even face criminal charges. So hopefully he just gives me his helmet, which he does. Turns out to be smart, because this gives him basically a little hand shield that he can use to block a couple of blows from a shard blade.
It worked better than I expected it to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also like the note that since he has left captivity, he started carrying a couple throwing, or at least one throwing knife again, but he's out of practice with it. So he's like, I can't use it in this case. And this time, as he shows up, Relis does not underestimate him and immediately peels off to fight with him. And so Kaladin realizes, like, he's now gone up against a guy. He can't use the spear one-handed, so he has to use a knife and his little shield. And this is not great. He draws him off, and then to Relis' surprise, when he's got the guy far enough away, Kaladin is the one who peels off and runs back towards Adolin. And Kaladin gets in there, manages to block a blow from the guy in green, who I think that's Jakimov. And while he's got this guy distracted, Adolin can go up against the orange guy, Abby, and just like slams his weapon into him again and again. But he can tell that Adolin is slowing down. Like his plate, like every section of his plate is cracked. He's leaking light. It's like how he won that fight with Ellet. And then as he's fighting green shard plate guy, he hears something. He's like, he can't pay enough attention to what it is. Relis comes back in, and now it's like 2 shard bearers on 1 against Kaladin. But somehow he's like hearing the wind. It's like Name of the Wind shit, where he can dodge perfectly because he knows everywhere that the blades are moving through the air. And then he runs out of Stormlight. And that's bad. Because he realizes that the helm in his hand is cracked and leaking Stormlight, and somehow it's feeding on his Stormlight. So darn you, shield, and your sudden but inevitable betrayal. It turns out that Adolin has beaten orange plate guy, Abby, while Kaladin was fighting these 2. And Adolin manages to like slowly, methodically crawl over and grab Jakimov from behind just as his plate is locking up. And then he basically like falls over holding the guy. And Kaladin looks over at Relis, who looks at fallen green plate man, fallen orange plate man, and then Kaladin, and then decides to make a run for Renarin. And Kaladin's like, oh, shit. Renarin, yield. Surrender, come on. And then Renarin doesn't. He dismisses his blade, and then he just, like, holds his head up and says, as if exposing his throat, as Relis comes in and swings at him, which is bizarre. What is Renarin doing here?
Got nothing. This is just baffling.
Yeah, it's very strange.
And Kaladin gets there just in time to pull that last clap thing. He catches Relis's blade before it can hit.
Yeah.
And then there's screaming. Why could he hear screaming? Inside his head? Was that Syl's voice? But whatever, like, Kaladin is experiencing, Relis seems to be experiencing another level entirely, because he drops his blade and he goes, what is it? What is it? No, I didn't kill you. He shrieked as if in great pain, and then ran across the sands, pulled open the door, and fled.
Yeah. I feel like that's got to be pattern, right?
That's got to be pattern, yeah.
Yeah.
Freaking him out.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what book it was in, but we discussed at some point previously, like, people's different reactions to suddenly hearing, like, a weird voice that they couldn't identify. Oh, no, it was in this book because it was pattern. Because it terrified some of them, like, oh, God, is it God? But Tin, on the other hand, was just like, oh, I guess I'm going crazy. Oh, well, apparently, if that's what's going on with Relis, he just heard pattern say something. His reaction is the most extreme yet, where he's like, what the fuck? No! And he runs away.
Guilty conscience.
Yeah, maybe. And so the High Judge is like, High Lord Relis Ruthar forfeits by cause of leaving the dueling arena. Like, she's very confused and disturbed, it says. And so Kaladin's like, I'm pretty sure nobody else heard that scream. It must have just been me and Relis, but what the fuck was that? Well, whatever. Meanwhile, Jakimov is being held by Adolin and can't move. He's like, stand up and fight me. And Kaladin just strolls over, picks up his knife from the sand, and puts it right into the opening in Jakimov's armor. I'm assuming like the eye slit or whatever. He's like, so are you going to yield, or do I kill my second shard bearer? And Jakimov's like, this wasn't a duel, this was a circus. Grappling is the way of the coward. And Kaladin presses the knife in further, and the guy's like, I yield. Okay, yeah, no, I'm done. My bad.
I think that's my most, like, the thing I get annoyed with the most about all the Light Eyes except for the Colin family. Like, whenever they don't get their way, they're just like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, right?
That's true. Yep.
Like, it's so obnoxious. It's like, dude, you lost. You're not as good as you think you are.
Yeah, no one takes any responsibility for their own shit. I love the claim that it's like, this wasn't a fair duel when you guys showed up 4-on-1.
Yeah.
And now you're whiny because you lost. To like, take out your friend, nonetheless. Like, this is messed up, dude. And so Jakimov yields. Kaladin realizes Adolin is laughing on the ground here. He can't move. He's like, that is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever done. I think I just won 3 full suits of plate and 2 blades. Help me get this armor off. And Kaladin's like, no, your armor will do that. You're not the boss of me. And Adol's like, no, dude, we still have a thing we have to do. Come on. And Kaladin's like, that's right, this is Adolin's chance, but it can be my chance too.
And I think this is another reason I'm just like, Kaladin, for fuck's sake, because they're right. He blows the whole plan against Sadeas by doing this. And he knew it was the plan. It's not, he can't even claim, I didn't know that's what you were doing. He knew the whole story, and he still fucking did this.
Yeah. The king's like, warrior, duel master, I am greatly pleased by what you've done. You please your king greatly. I offer you a boon. Name what you wish of me or of this court, and it shall be yours. And Adolin's like, for my boon, I demand the right of challenge. I demand the chance to duel High Prince Sadeas right here and now as redress for the crimes he committed against my house. And Sadeas, who is leaving, like, he's on his way out now because he sees it coming just a little bit too late, and he has to stop on the steps, and everyone turns to stare at him. And then Kaladin goes, and for my boon, I want the right of challenge against Amaram, the murderer who slaughtered my friends. It says the king's jaw dropped. The king's jaw dropped. The crowd grew very, very still. Adolin groaned, and he looks over, meets the eyes of Amaram, and sees horror there. Amaram stands up, stumbles. He just now recognized Kaladin, and Kaladin's like, you should have killed me. The crowd starts to shout and yell. The king says, arrest him, and Kaladin's like, yes, perfect. Wait, are those soldiers coming for me? Yeah.
Also, like, if you did right of challenge, the king was going to let you. Why would they arrest Amaram? They'd just be like, okay, get in there and fight him.
Yeah.
Okay, last chapter of this section. Never again. The epigraph here is about Malishi, a bondsmith, who they come up with a plan to fight the Voidbringers, but Malishi has something else. It was related to the very nature of the heralds and their divine duties, an attribute the bondsmiths alone could address. Which, okay, that's very vague, but sounds very important. And we cut to later on, Elhokar and Dalinar and Kaladin are in, like, the king's quarters. Oh, I'm sorry, we're in Dalinar's rooms. Sorry. And Dalinar's arguing, Captain Kaladin is a man of honor. He was the only one who went to help my sons. And Elhokar's like, that's his job. That was not his job. I'm saying.
Yeah. He was actually his job was to protect you, but whatever.
Yeah.
This is the bit in the contract that it's like other duties from time to time. when you employed.
Oh, that's not good. Kaladin, during this conversation, is chained to a chair. He insulted a High Lord in front of the entire court, dared to challenge a man so high above his station, the gap between them could hold a kingdom. Elhokar's like, I still don't agree with you letting a Dark Eyes duel shard bearers if you hadn't held me back. So it sounds like Kaladin jumps into the ring to help Adolin and Renarin, and Elhokar wants to call the duel there because Kaladin shouldn't be allowed to help because he's a Dark Eyes.
I'm sorry. I thought that was his job.
Yeah, right? Like, is it one or is it the other, my man?
I'm the king. It's whatever I say when I say it.
And Kaladin tries to argue, I only spoke the truth. And Elhokar's like, you shut up. You ruined everything. And Kaladin's like, I mean, how did I ruin everything? Sadeas can't ignore the challenge. It was made. And Elhokar's like, no, of course he can't. He already responded. And Dalinar's like, dude, Adolin didn't get a chance to pin him down. And so as soon as he was left the arena, Sadeas sent word agreeing to a duel in 1 year's time.
I don't understand how that works because Adolin's words, like, very clearly were saying, I challenge him to a duel right here and right now.
Yep.
So because he had time to get away, he can't do it right there and right then. Like, someone bring him back.
100% agree. It doesn't make any sense. The excuse is like, oh, well, I've left the dueling arena already. I'm just so busy. I'll do it later. Like, that shouldn't work. I agree. But once again, we don't get the book on the rules of this stuff. So, and Elhokar's like, this is what you get, Uncle, for putting a slave in charge of our guard. What were you thinking? What was I thinking allowing you? And you have to remember, Elhokar is the one who's like, Dalinar, I like this guy. Put him in charge of my guard. So, once again, we got somebody who's unwilling to take responsibility for their own decisions. It must be Dalinar's fault. And Dalinar's like, you saw him fight. He's really good. And Elhokar says, it's not his skill. His discipline is the problem. Execution. And Kaladin's like, wait, what? Like, hold on a second. And the king says, it's the punishment for slandering a High Lord. It is the law.
She's like, wait a minute, man.
Kaladin didn't read that law.
He's like, look, I'm a slave. They didn't give me like a law book.
Law degree, dude.
Yeah, before this, I was close to getting a medical degree, but that didn't pan out. You know how it is. You're in college. You don't know what you want to do with your life. And then all of a sudden you fall into something else. Soldiering, you know?
Slavery, whatever.
Slavery, soldiering, then slavery.
None of my men have wives, so I've got no one who can read the books to me.
Also true, yeah.
Yeah.
Could you loan me something? A wife?
Yeah. Could you spare your wife? She's back in the other country. Oh. That is a pickle.
And so here's the moment where Dalinar and the king butt heads. Because Dalinar's like, yeah, okay, he committed a crime punishable by death. You're the king. You can pardon him. Do you really want to see this guy hang after what he just did? And Elhokar goes, well, would you stop me? And Dalinar's like, I wouldn't stand for it. And so we finally get down to it where Elhokar's like, am I the king to you? Because you don't act like it. You act like you're in charge here, and I'm not having it.
Which, fair. Like, Dalinar did kind of chuck him around the room a bit. And again, he had that coming, but nonetheless, it's like, you're not the king, Dalinar.
Yeah. Not only is Dalinar not the king, Dalinar has pledged, like, to support the king. And yet is continually bossing him around. So
yeah, he's like, I'm in charge. No more Gavilar and no more you.
And so apparently this is where Elhokar has decided that he's going to finally make his stand.
Of all the things to make a stand on, I feel like this one's not great, but it's because we like Kaladin.
Yeah.
His mom says his mom told us before the duel that Elhokar is impulsive. So
well, yeah.
And so Elhokar's like, I say the boys to be executed. What do you say to that? And Dalinar, growing tense, says, I'd say that in attempting such a thing, you would make an enemy of me, Elhokar. And Kaladin's over here like, just try to execute me. I dare you. I fucking double dare you. Go ahead. He's not saying that out loud, which is probably smart. But and so Dalinar and Elhokar have a stare down where Elhokar's like, I'm the king, do what I say. And Dalinar's like, I mean, you can do that, but you're going to regret it.
Dalinar's like, make me.
And finally, Elhokar is the one who looks away first, and he goes, prison. And Dalinar says, how long? He's like, until I say he's done. And then he stomps out. And Kaladin calls out to Dalinar. He's like, what a hypocrite that guy is. He's the one that insisted you put me in charge, and now he blames you. And Dalinar is in a real... he kneels down beside Kaladin, and he's in such an awkward position because he's like, you did something amazing. You protected my sons. The only one who went to protect my sons. You probably saved both of them. You justified my faith in you before the whole court, and then you threw it away.
It's like you scored the opening points in a game of football, and then on every subsequent play, your pants fell off.
And he's like,
Kaladin, there's a phrase we use: "Quit while you're ahead, man."
he's like, you knew the plan. You were in the conference when we discussed the plan, and then you screwed it up over like your own selfish vengeance. And when Kaladin tries to argue about Amaram, he's like, you got to stop this Amaram stuff. Like, I looked into it. There's 17 witnesses, light eyes, dark eyes, that say he got his Shardblade 4 months ago, way after you were made a slave. And this is a guy I've known for decades.
That might have been a discussion worth having before now.
Yeah.
Just to at least let him know, it's like, look, I didn't ignore what you said. I have looked into it, but I found nothing to support the evidence you've come up with. I'm sorry. Like, probably could have had that conversation earlier.
And if it wasn't such an emotionally charged moment, Kaladin might even understand. He wouldn't be happy about it. But if Dalinar sat him down and explained, like, look, I've talked to all of these people. There's all of this evidence supporting his side, and I don't have a single shred except for your word on your side. Kaladin wouldn't like that, but I think if this weren't such a crazy moment, he would understand that Dalinar did his due diligence here.
Yeah.
And like Kaladin's like, if that guy's so honorable, why didn't he fight to save your sons? And Dalinar has nothing he can say to that. And then he's like, look, Elgar has a temper. When he cools down, I'll get you free, all right? And besides which, I think maybe it would be good if you had some time to think. And Kaladin's like, you're going to have a tough time forcing me to go into prison. And Dalinar's like, have you been listening at all? Have you not seen all the shit that's going on here? We don't have time for this. Stop being a child and start being a soldier. You're going to go to prison and you're going to go happily. That's an order. Do you even follow orders anymore? And he's like, I thought we had Sadeas. I thought we cornered him. We were going to cut out his feet from under him. Now I don't know what to do. Thank you for saving my sons. And then he leaves. So, yeah, I feel for Dalinar a lot more than Kaladin in this situation, where I get like the frustration and the weird position he's in, where it's like, this guy just saved my sons, and yet he fucked everything up. Like, what do I do? And then we cut to Sadeas, who I like the note here that he's the table he has still has that slice in the middle from when he made it with Oathbringer. They kept the table. It's all good.
The table bane, proud of his work.
And he's sitting here thinking, like, Dalinar almost outmaneuvered me. If it weren't for that stupid slave, like, he would have beat me. He would have outsmarted me. How can that be? And also, that kid just took down 4 shard bearers. Practically single-handedly. I mean, that slave was there, but, like, clearly he didn't contribute anything. This kid is growing into what his dad used to be. And that's not good for me, who's now on the other side. And he tells his wife, organize your informants. Every spy you have, I need something that I can hurt Dalinar with. And after that, it's going to be time to use those assassins you've planted. Oof.
Oh, Nelly.
Yep.
Yep.
And then the soldiers come to take Kaladin to prison. Dalinar's camp prison. It's not like he's going to federal supermax. This is where soldiers go when they get in trouble for fighting or other offenses like that.
You're not going to federal pound you in the ass prison.
But as he sits down on the bench and Syl drifts in, he says, "This is what comes of trusting Light Eyes. So never again."
Yep.
Oh my god,
And
how did you take every wrong lesson from this, you idiot?
Oh, it's so true. Like, even Kaladin here is not taking responsibility for his own screw-ups. He's like, it's all the damn Light Eyes' fault. Which, he has a little more room, a little more to stand on there than some of the other people blaming everybody else. But you had a hand in this, my man.
Yeah.
We end part 3 with he was in a cage once again. Okay, let's do some predicaments, y'all. We have 2 chapters we're going to read for next time because, as I think I previously mentioned, the first interlude here, interlude 9, is, I do believe, the longest chapter in the book. So that is where we're going to start.
Who are the interlude people?
The 2 interludes are named. Interlude 9 is called Lift, L-I-F-T, Lift. And interlude 10 is called Seth. There we go. Predicaments. What do you guys think? We've ended on a pretty dramatic moment here that could open up a lot of different story possibilities going forward. What do you guys think is going to happen? Where are we going?
So, okay. Syl saw Patton. I'm pretty sure she saw Patton. And I think while Kaladin's in a box, she's going to do some investigating and try and find what that's about. Whether or not she follows Patton to Shallan, I don't know. I feel like I've talked before. I think that there was going to be something that might turn Adolin around in his opinion of Kaladin and start to respect him a bit more. And I think like what Adolin's big thing has always been fighting. He knows how to fight, and he respects people who are good at fighting. So now having done the whole back-to-back badasses with Kaladin, he might have a bit more respect for him. And maybe this is maybe he will get a bit more on Kaladin's side, because Kaladin and Adolin are both hotheads. Maybe Adolin will come visit and it's like, okay, I need to know. You clearly have an issue with Amaram. Tell me the whole story. I need to know what got under your skin so much that you threw the whole thing against Sadeas away. I need to know, because this could be a problem for us. And it's like, and Adolin even said to Shallan, it's like, Kaladin is an unpleasant bastard, but he is trustworthy and he's good at his job. So if something got, like, Adolin would recognize, if something got under Kaladin's skin, it's got to be bad. So, yeah. And so I think Adolin might start coming around on Kaladin, and he might start doing the things that Dalinar wasn't willing to do. And really come at Amaram and just go, I need to know more about you, and hey, you got that blade.
That's fair. I mean, honestly, Adolin also knows that Kaladin has every reason in the world to hate Sadeas. So if there's something about Amaram that's worse, that like this guy would throw away his hatred of Sadeas because of hatred for Amaram, it must be bad.
Yeah, because I don't think Dalinar has shared Kaladin's opinion of Amaram with anyone. Why would he?
Well, why?
So this has got to be this is probably the first time Adolin's heard of it. He's like, hang on, I'm missing something here. What the fuck's going on? So, yeah.
And I also agree with you that if anything is going to bring Adolin around to liking Kaladin better, this is the kind of thing that would do it.
Yeah, and not just that, Kaladin with no shards jumped in against 4 other shard bearers, saved Adolin, saved his brother who Adolin loves. Like, Adolin will have full respect for this. He will recognize this. No, Elhokar's wrong. This isn't Kaladin doing his job. This is above and beyond the call of duty.
Yeah, 100%. It's hard for anyone, I think, to argue that this is not way beyond what's normally expected of this position. And Adolin, more than anybody would, except for maybe Dalinar, should recognize that. As opposed to Elhokar, who's like, that's his fucking job. Like, shut up.
So a couple of things that I think could come out of this, maybe. I don't know how quickly they would come out of it. I'll admit I didn't even consider Patton being the thing that still saw. I thought she was heading for Renarin, which is possibly the direction she was heading, but it makes sense that if she notices something that other people aren't noticing, especially when Shallan made a comment about it seems so obvious, but no one's looking in that direction, so that's fine. But perhaps Syl would then know what else to look for. Like, Syl can see Patton, so as like Kaladin and Shallan are in the same area, maybe she'll be able to make that link for Kaladin that Shallan's doing this too in a different way. So I think that would be kind of interesting to see. Maybe Patton gets Kaladin out of prison. I don't know, like that jailbreak edition. That would be cool. But to then have like Adolin and Kaladin perhaps actually have a conversation with some substance, we might start to see a few of these pieces connect together. And I think we sort of threw out there, these 3 together. That would be quite good to see them working together. Maybe Adolin, having heard Kaladin's side of the story and stuff about Amaram, maybe he can get Shallan to do some research, because they've made quite a few points about her scholarly ability, obviously with trying to get Navani on board, but also trying to get with the Ghost Bloods. They've noticed like Shallan's skills as a scholar as well. So that's really front of mind that yes, she has this skill. We know she has this skill, but I just feel like it's been pointed out so many times recently that maybe that will come up. Yeah, so if you had Shallan starting to do a little bit of research into Kaladin's background, that could be quite interesting to see where that goes and really bring these 3 together. because I would like to see them work together a bit more, not just Kaladin in the background.
Yeah, no, I agree. That would be nice. That'd be a fun thing to see. I love your idea of the pattern jailbreak, because we know that he can like open locks and stuff, right? We've seen that. So engineering jailbreak, that'd be amazing.
Also, though, that would really piss Dalinar off, and I don't want to piss Dalinar off.
Yeah.
You will go to jail and you will go happily. Yeah, I don't want to do that to Dalinar. He's in a really awful position at the moment.
Yeah, the relationship has just become very tenuous between Kaladin and Dalinar, and I think that we can probably all agree that we want them to keep a working relationship there. So yeah, jailbreak probably a bad idea in the big picture.
Yeah.
But a man can dream.
Maybe he'll just like go out and come back as he feels free to. You know, he'll be a prisoner without really being a prisoner.
That would be funny when no one's looking. He's like, I'll just fly away for a little bit. I'll be back later. It's fine.
Gosh, I don't know. I kind of like both of their theories. I think Kaladin, he's gonna go to prison. I almost see like a plethora of different people coming to visit him while he's in prison. Like Rock shows up and he's like, "It's okay, Kaladin. Everything will be fine." And then like Moash shows up and is like, "I freaking told you, dude." And he's like, "Yeah, you did." And then we'll be like, "Ugh, Moash is the worst." And Teft will come back and be like, "Don't worry, lad. I'll watch after the boys while you're gone." And then somebody tries to spring him. Maybe Shallan. Who knows? But where do we go from here? I feel like that's a question. It's a big question. I'm not sure the right answer on it. It's like there's just so much that's gone wrong, and that we know, like, there's this foreboding sense based on the epigraphs near the beginning of the book. Like there's this foreboding sense of something like another shoe about to drop, and I don't feel like we've completely seen it yet. We've got an idea of what it's going to be. It's taking shape, but we don't really know like what it's going to look like exactly, or what order things will kick off, or like how it will work. And so it's just kind of, we're in this holding pattern, I feel like, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I feel like some shoes dropped at the end of this part, but not the big shoes. Maybe we got some like toddler shoes dropping.
some flip flops.
Yeah, some flip flops dropping. But the big stuff hasn't dropped yet. So like, I'm just like, oh gosh, when is it gonna happen? When are the Parshendi gonna show up and like stuff's gonna happen? So I'm excited, especially if one of these interludes is long. It'll be interesting. Hopefully it's the Seth one. Seth one should be fun. So if that one's long, that'll be fun. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. There's not a lot that I have to comment on. I feel like we're kind of just, like I said, in this holding pattern.
It's the first of the two interludes. It's the longest one. The Seth one is a
Lift.
Decent length, but yeah, Lift is the longest one.
Okay.
I like your idea. Now I want just a whole chapter of various people coming to visit Kaladin, and how each of them like reacts differently and interacts with him differently when he's behind bars. That could be really interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a montage. It's like he slowly is growing like a beard, and his hair's getting long and unkempt, and he's just like, "Yep, here I am in prison again."
Shallan comes to visit. Who would be less expected? If Elokar came to visit, that would be an interesting visit.
He'd be like, "Hey, I just wanted to say hi. I know I put you here, and you deserve it. So just hang out."
Wit's
Shallan
around.
comes by,
Wick could
she's like,
show up.
Yeah, Wick could show up. Shallan shows up. She's like, "Can I draw you in prison?" He's like, I don't care. Do what you want.
I haven't drawn a prisoner yet. This would be awesome.
Yeah, I gotta get the shadowing of the bars just right. Looks good.
Well, and
if Wit shows up, Wit will be in the cell with him, and it's like, "What are you in for?" And it's like, "Stealth some food."
Or Wit's like, he's like, "How did you get in here?" He's like, "Where are we?"
In where? Yeah. I don't know. I think Dak mentioned the possibility of like Adolin coming to visit, so that could be
Sure.
very fun interaction there.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, Bridge Boy, good to see you behind bars again." He's like, "Oh, really, dude? Come on, Major Dick." He's like, "I know, I'm just messing with you."
I like even when Kaladin jumps in to help him in the duel, Aelin's like, hey, Bridge Boy, what are you doing here? I'm like, do you really have to call him that?
He's probably gonna call him that forever.
For one thing, I'm pretty sure we've talked about it. Like, Kaladin is at least close to the same age as him. So, like, it's kind of messed up.
Yeah, but that's what the Light Eyes are. They're kind of messed up. That's their whole thing.
I don't think we've ever seen any indication that Adolin remembers that time that he threw Kaladin a sphere and told him to go like deliver a message, and Kaladin never did it. But
Yeah. He's
that
like,
would be a funny thing.
I'll take that sphere, thanks.
Like Kaladin, they're reminiscing. He's like, "Hey, you remember that time I did that?" And Adolin's like, "That was you? But you know how screwed up stuff got because he never got that message."
Yeah. He's like, we killed a guy. He's like, oh shit, I'm sorry.
My bad. Was the guy light eyes? Because I don't mind so much. No. That's... Oh, but yeah, no, we're gonna have to see, because as you pointed out, things are gonna kind of strained at the end of this. Even with no major shoes dropping, like there's some serious stuff happening. Like, can Kaladin even work with Dalinar after this? He's not happy. We end the chapter with he's like, I'm never trusting a light eyes ever again. So, okay, I guess we shall see. Okay, let's read a couple of emails. Not many. We're running a little long today. But we will start with Adam's email in defense of Moash. This email has spoilers to the end of part 3, so if you haven't gotten to that, don't read this. The email says, sure, Moash wants to kill the king, but he has a good reason to want revenge. Even if Elhokar didn't personally kill Moash's grandparents, he almost assuredly knowingly sent them to their deaths. Can you really blame a guy for wanting his grandparents murdered to face some kind of justice? And how else can Moash get justice in an absolute monarchy where he is literally a second-class citizen? While I'm not a huge fan of political assassinations, you've got to admit that Graves makes a good point. Elhokar is a shit king, and Dalinar would make a better one. For instance, I can't see Dalinar arresting Kaladin on the spot for trying to challenge Amaram. That was a pretty stupid move on Elhokar's part to let Sadeas sneak away and take one of their best fighters out of commission. So I think Moash's reason for getting Elhokar out of the way is solid, even if it's not his real driving motivation. Finally, I think there's some not so great real world implications to saying that Moash, an underprivileged former slave, I should note here, he was never actually a slave. He was a free person who ended up on the bridge cruise. But anyway, that he shouldn't be allowed to use whatever means is at his disposal to seek to address justice. It kind of smacks of saying that the oppressed should just shut up and let the ruling elite decide what's best for them. That's the end of that.
This hinges on, Elhokar knowingly, as you put it, leaving the grandparents to rot. I don't know that was the case from the way it made it sound and the way Moash has conflated it. It could have easily, just been something that was. The impression I got is like he believes Elhokar knows and did everything maliciously, but the reading between the lines, what I suspect is this guy had them thrown in prison and Elhokar had no friggin' idea. It was just like another set of prisoners, and then they were left to rot without trial because their papers got lost or whatever. Maybe this other candlestick maker, organized a few things like that. I think he thinks Elhokar is a lot more aware of this situation than I think Elhokar actually is.
Mm.
And yeah, and this is all assuming that Moash is telling the truth and not, exaggerating things to make himself sound more sympathetic. Like,
also true.
I get the feeling that's like I can see Moash doing that. I'm not going to fight the fact that Elhokar is not a great king. I get that. I think he is the product of his environment and his society. Honestly, Alethi society as a whole, I've talked about how I don't think it's the best society in general. And, this kid got thrown into being king after his dad was killed, and he's terrified of being killed himself, and people seem to mock him for that and not take him seriously at all. And so he gets paranoid. Like, he feels like he is aware that people don't take him seriously. He's aware that, like, the person who cares the most about him still kind of just uses him to push his own agenda, that being Dalinar, and saying, like, hang on, who's the king here, you or me? I think, yeah, Elhokar just gets treated like shit by his enemies and his allies alike, and he's trying to make some sense of that in the world. I don't think he would really be aware of the dealings of smaller prisoners in his kingdom while he's out fighting a war. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, you make some good points. Like, as you say, we don't know that Moash is being completely honest. I don't know that we have any reason to doubt that he is, except that you don't like Moash. So,
Oh, 100%. That is a bias that I have, based without evidence. So, whatever.
But you're also right that Elhokar is not in the most enviable position. And he wasn't actually king at the time that this happened either. Like, his dad was out on the Shattered Plains doing stuff, and he was, like, in charge back home. So it wasn't as bad where he suddenly thrust into being king after his dad died. So we weren't there yet at that point. But we also, as a side addition to that he was not actually the king. He was trying to keep the country running and probably doing this for maybe the first time, which is a lot of responsibility to throw on this young guy.
Right.
And a lot of plates that he's keeping spinning. So I could understand what you're saying, where it's like, would he really keep track of every prisoner in his kingdom at this point?
I keep forgetting this was pre-Gavilar dying and pre-Elhokar going to war. I forgot about that. How old is Elhokar? He's of an age with Adolin, isn't he?
This is a good question. Let me see if I can find information on what year.
Because if this is, all right, so Gavilar's alive when this has happened. That means that this is 6 years ago at the earliest. So at the time all this went down with Moash's family, Elhokar would have been at most 16.
Yeah, Elhokar is currently 26.
Oh, okay, so he would have been at most 20.
It would have been about 20, yeah.
Assuming it didn't happen even earlier.
Right.
I don't remember if we got an exact time frame of when Moash's parents got arrested.
And so actually, yes, at the end, sorry, I can't talk. In Words of Radiance, Adolin is 25. So they are, like, Elhokar's just slightly older than him.
Yeah. But early to mid 20s was where I was thinking.
Yeah. And Kaladin is like 20 now, so I guess Adolin's a little older than him.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, even if he's 19 or 20 and suddenly in charge of the kingdom for the first time, that's a lot of responsibility on somebody that age. And not only that, but even Moash's account is that, like, Elhokar was getting, like, one of these guys had his ear and was giving him advice and engineered this, like some trashy, light-eyed silversmith, the guy who owned a bunch of silversmith shops was what it was. And so you could understand, like, a 19-year-old running the country for the first time, maybe he's got some advisors that he trusts, that he's listening to. If he wasn't listening to older, more experienced people, you might actually be even more worried. So you could see how that might happen, and not saying that Elhokar wouldn't bear any responsibility for it, but not completely on him.
Yeah. But yeah, and like the last point I'll make on it is that the narrative is quite heavily pushing at the moment, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, like the foil between Kaladin seeking his vengeance on Amaram, and Syl has quite openly told him at this point, like, your need for vengeance is killing you. Like, anytime you get onto that topic, you lose all sense of, like, what makes you a good person. The obvious foil there is, like, that's the same for Moash and Elhokar. It's his need for, like, vengeance on the king that is driving him to do dark and, like, not good things and making him not a good person.
Fair. Yeah, okay. I like that parallel also. That's a good point. So you have some points about Moash, emailer. I don't know that we agree with all of them. Let's go to the next email. The next one is from Tyler, and the title of this email is A Shard Named Confiture. I don't know how you say that. Confiture. Confiture. And in case anyone like me has no idea what that word meant, just seeing it, the definition is a preparation of preserved fruit. So that's the title. Hi, Data. There's been some talk on this podcast that has me theorizing about interesting directions that Sanderson could take Stormlight 5. I started thinking about the shattering, and it occurred to me that if an entity was shattered into 16 pieces, it's not too much of a stretch to assume that one of those pieces might be the entity's favorite food. There have been a few different foods mentioned in the Cosmere, but there's one in particular that seems more prominent than any other. I am, of course, referring to jam. Introducing a jam shard would be a great way to tie everything back to the Way of Kings. Plus, we already know someone who would just be the most perfect vessel for this theoretical shard. I believe that our dear friend Cabsol is not actually dead, but lives on as the vessel for the jam shard. Now, I've uncapped my prediction and spread it out for you to consume. I hope you will entertain it with all of the gravitas that such a delicious theory deserves. Or if for some reason you don't find this theory fruitful enough, perhaps the co-hosts could discuss their own shard vessel-related theories, particularly regarding Roshar. Many thanks, from Tyler.
And I don't know how big Adonalcium was on Jam, but if, like, an entire segment of his personality got splintered off into Jam, That'd sure be something, all right. Oh man,
Yeah.
I don't know how to think about that.
I'll admit, Tyler, I enjoy the out of the box thinking. I don't enjoy that you've settled on Cab Sal as your jam man for this shard job. Yeah. I don't know that splitting off into jam is really in the style of the other shards of Adonathium, but to be fair, we don't know what all of them are, so I guess anything's possible. Yeah. Also, Cabsal's absolutely dead, so I'm really sorry that your theory's kind of busted.
Just put that out there. Definitely not coming back to life. Jamie has called it.
Yeah. If Cabsal the Jam Man is a shard of Adonalcium, I'm gonna have to quit.
That's where you draw the line.
Brandon, you've lost me.
Oh.
I did read a book recently where there was like, it's like a post-apocalyptic novel, but the idea was the city of Brisbane guys wake up and the entire city is just covered in jam that eats people.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's by Yahtzee, who does Zero Punctuation.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure I know this book. Like, it's sounding familiar. I read several of Yahtzee's books, so
this is the first one of his that I've read, and I was like, oh, that was all right.
I need to go back and look at what all he's written so I can remember what I read and didn't read, but because there was a couple that I actually quite liked, and some that I feel like the Jam one, was it called Jam?
It was just called Jam.
It was just called Jam. I feel like that was not one of my favorite ones. Let's see, he did We'll Save the Galaxy for Food, which was kind of fun, and then We'll Destroy the Galaxy for Cash is the sequel to that one, which I didn't like as much. Oh, and then apparently there's another one.
Third one coming out, yeah. It's like the end of the trilogy.
It's going to be Audible specific or something, and it's called We'll Leave the Galaxy for Good. Okay. I don't know about that one. His first one was Mog World, and that was an interesting one about like a necromancer. Or no, it's about like a zombie who works for a necromancer or something. Anyway, that one I kind of enjoyed. It's got like a kind of D&D feel. And there was Differently Morpheus about like guys investigating a magical serial killer or something, which was also fun. Okay. I think those were the two that were the top of my although We'll Save the Galaxy for Food, also quite fun.
Yeah. It's like I'll probably check out more of his books in time, but I've got a massive pile a mile long to get through.
Oh, right. I know what you mean. Jam Shard. That I love how many puns you managed to squeeze into that email, Tyler. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I'm just going to move on. You can't beat the jam.
What more could you say?
Yeah. Let's do one more email today, and then we'll have a few left for another time. This one is from Jason, and it says, Hola, fellow bridge crew, and then in parentheses, I really hope not. I'm writing you from the past so I can enjoy this in the future. I just listened to your episode of The Way of Kings with the bridge scene. It reminded me of my grandfather. Both of mine fought in the European theater in World War II. One of them as an engineer, and he was part of the bridge crew. They would run out in front of the line and build a bridge, even with bullets flying past. The way he said this worked was like an erector set. The truck backed up and pieces were pushed out over the crossing. When the end piece was reached, they attached another piece and pushed that out, rinse and repeat until a bridge was established. Reading this part with Bridge 4 gave me a new appreciation for what my and many other grandfathers went through. That grandfather was never hit, but my other grandfather was strafed by a plane while he was on the bank of the Rhine, so he got to come home. Anyway, that chapter made me want to share that story. It amazes me that anyone ever comes back from war. Wasing to the time of next, Colo. That's interesting. I never looked into bridging in World War II, although there's a scene in Kelly's Heroes where they have to get some guys to come out and make a bridge, but they kind of get skipped over for the most part.
Yeah, it's not something I ever knew much about.
But just thinking that there's like a bridge crew out there getting shot at, that is a weirdly familiar scene now.
Yeah.
Thank you for that information, dude. That was pretty cool. Actually, we got one more that's super short, so I'm gonna read that one because why not? This one is from Ozymandias on the Discord. Hey all, don't know if you're aware, I'm not all the way caught up yet, but the Cosmere RPG is coming out soon, with Stormlight and Mistborn being the first two settings. My question is this: if you could be a Twinborn or full Radiant, which world would you prefer to explore? So you're gonna get superpowers on one of these two worlds. Which one would you prefer to explore?
Well, yeah, like we have to I have to say, if we get powers, because we still don't really know what being a full Knight Radiant encompasses.
True.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of Roshar which we need to explore and see. I guess, yeah. Like, I think just taken on the base of the planet themselves, I probably want to explore Roshar some more. But being a full Mistborn power set would be amazing to explore Scadra with. So I don't know. But like, I think Roshar just seems like the richer planet in terms of varying, topography and different environments and locales,
cultures and stuff.
Yeah.
One good thing
I
about
think
this upcoming Lift interlude is we're going to get to explore a new area of the world. So
cool.
I think that because there's been so much world building, we just have so much more to explore for Roshar, which would be really cool. I would get concerned that if I was going to be a Twinborn, I'd get some powers that just weren't really cool. And that would be sad to me. If I could guarantee I was going to have cool powers, I think that would be all right to go in that world. But yeah, I think I'd like to see Roshar. I'd like to see the creatures, and it sounds like a way more interesting place.
Giant crabs and things, sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I understand that they're in war, but it doesn't appear to be really outside the Shattered Plains. Like, there's stuff, like there's political stuff and assassins, and it's not like everything's happy outside the Shattered Plains, but it doesn't appear to be like everywhere.
I love your stipulations. It's like, if I got to make sure I had cool powers, which I 100% agree. Yep.
Yeah, you just know that I'd end up getting something that would just not be useful or cool.
The one good thing about Roshar is that if you get, Dak pointed out, we don't know all the details about like being a full-on Radiant. We've seen kind of pieces of it, but you get a cool friend, a spren friend to like hang out with you and stuff. So you won't be alone if you get that power.
Spren friend would be cool.
We've really only seen like a couple of them now to any detail. So maybe some of the other Spren are jerks and you wouldn't want them hanging around all the time, but the ones that we know are pretty cool. Okay. So thank you everyone who sent emails. If you want to send it, and we are getting towards the end. We've got, I think, 3 people who emailed us that are left in the box now. So we're whittling down our bunch that we had. If you want to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram, Twitter. I made us an account on the new like Instagram Threads app where I posted just the other day. I'm like, Sanderson thought of the day, and like try to inspire some conversation on Threads, but I still don't understand all the details of how that app works. But so yeah, find us. Cool stuff's happening, or on Patreon, where I have been putting up my reactions to the Wind and Truth preview chapters that are coming out every week. So check that out if you want to hear me react to that.
How many Wind and Truth chapters have come out?
So we are. Let me Wind and Truth preview chapters. Let me take a look at the most recent one, because I've usually been reading every other week, unless some weeks so usually 2 chapters a week, and then I'll read 4 chapters at a time. Every now and then they've come out with 3 chapters in a week, and then I'm like, okay, well I guess I'll read 3 this week. But the most recent one is chapter 24 is the last one to have come out. And we've actually made it past the end of part 1 at this point.
Holy shit.
So yeah, we're into part 2. He's and this is going to keep going until the book comes out in December. So we got a whole another month of 2 to 3 chapters a week coming out.
My God.
Yeah, he's really putting a lot of that book out there. It's very cool. So yeah, if you want to hear me react to that, check out our Patreon. Remember, if you're following along, we are doing 2 chapters for next time. It's going to be Interlude 9 and Interlude 10. And actually, I lied. Interlude 10 is extremely short. It's the Interlude 11 that's got a decent length to it. So sorry, Joe, I lied to you earlier when I said that the Seth interlude was decently long. It is not at all.
How dare you?
It is maybe the 3rd shortest chapter in the book. No, the 4th shortest chapter. So it's not very long. But I'll be interested in hearing you guys what you think of the Lift chapter for sure, because it's very different, and like I said, it explores a new part of the world, which is always fun. But let's just say we'll leave it at that. I'm going to be interested to hear what you guys think. So if you're reading along with us, that's 2 chapters for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound, and Wuzzing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Gravity.
Amnesia, you forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain, but you're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.